Today's question is if parents do need a driver's license to operate their young children. The question is always being answered by Ditte Young.
I became a mother 14 years ago and I wished for a child, but I had actually no idea of what it felt like to become a mom. Or to my son's dad, he didn't know it either. And I remember this frightened anxiety attack before leaving the hospital, and I thought to myself, how can I make sure not to do anything that's gonna be the end of my son? What if I fall down a stair? What if I drop him in the bathtub? I was super scared of this life that came to me and my family. And ever since, I've helped several families with therapy and helping their children. And I must be blunt to say that it's not the children who needs help. It's the parents. It's the parent who don't understand this child that are coming to them and have difficulties with respecting and accepting the child the way the child is. So no one gets a driver's license in parenting. We're just gonna go with the flow, and subconsciously most parents project on their children. So for example, if you had great experiences as a child, you loved to bike, you would very much love your child to learn how to bike because it was such an amazing experience for you as a child. Or if you loved playing soccer and you get a son, you know he's going to play soccer because this is the bomb. And you'll get disappointed as dad to a son who has no interest in soccer at all. This is just one projection out of many. So many of these children I help, they tell me about them being a disappointment. And all these children, what the thing they have in common, or they say, I don't think my parents love me. And when I tell that, I pass it on to their parents. They burst into tears. And how can she say that? I love my child. I provide them everything, food on the table, nice clothing. I give them money for vacations. I buy them fancy clothes. We are driving in the best cars. We have a nice house. And I'm like, you don't understand. Your child will just know and feel the emotion of love, true love, and being present. And a child develops the communication skills by looking into the face of their parents. This is the reason why we probably subconsciously are doing like this to the babies or this to babies, and they giggle. And they find it funny because when they read a parent's face, they know how to be in the world and what to do with their face muscles themselves. And this is the development that will take some years for the child, being able to read a room or scan, what should I do now? How am I supposed to react? And the only persons they will look up to are the parents. But the parents nowadays, they don't look at their children. They look at the tablets or the cell phones, and then they scold their children when they do the same. But the children taught this from the parents. They didn't come up with the idea to find a tablet at the age of 4. But for many parents, it's a nice nanny. It's a good babysitter to sit there behind a tablet and say, okay, we need quiet time. You got your iPad or tablet. You can look for it in 1 hour. And actually, I don't know any parents who don't feel a relief when the child are able to activate themselves during that hour. And are children not supposed to have iPads or tablets or cell phones? Yes, of course they are. But this just this is just an explanation for why we have this development with teenagers who don't think their parents like them or love them anymore. It's because their parents are not present and because they project on their children. It's pretty interesting that I see two different groups. I see a family that are very ambitious on behalf of their children. That could be ambitions with sports results. And we have these teenagers who are going to school throughout a whole entire day, have to come home, do their homework, and maybe eat dinner, and then directly go to a sport. And then they come home at 10, 11, and then a new day begins, and it continues and continues and continues. And these children are coming down with stress at the age of 10, 11, 12, and this is pretty dreadful if this is the future for our children. So when I help the parents to remove the pressure by seeing the seriousity of their children cannot take this pressure, it only takes a week or so, and the children are improving and gets better and better and happier. So that's one way to look at it. And another group of parents are very good, maybe too good, to provide freedom for their children. So they tell their children, it's up to you. What would you like for dinner? What kind of vacation do you want to go to? Or it's free play, you can do whatever you want. And these children are like, but this is too many choices, because now I have to choose. Where do I want to go on holiday? What would I prefer eating? And these parents think it's a luxurious problem because it's a buffet of choices, whereas the child is saying to me, it's too many choices. And then they come down with stress too. So my best advice to all parents out there is to choose for them, to take the choices or make the choices. For example, a young teenager I'm helping, her mom would tell her, will you please clean up? And she burst into tears and asks me, clean what? This is, whoa, should I do the dishes? Should I take the vacuumer? Should I clean my bed sheets? Or should I, take everything out from the shelves and put it back? So she starts doing everything. And then the mom comes back and asks her, what are you doing? I just asked you to clean up. And she said, I am cleaning up. And this is just a nice example of being very clear as a parent. What do you want your child to do? Because especially when there are teenagers, in their small brains of theirs, they are all about who am I, their identity, and becoming a grown-up all of a sudden. And then there's no room for figuring out other problems, such as what to clean, or what do you prefer eating for dinner? I think a lot of people, when being asked that, some people would say, oh, so nice that you're asking. And some people would say, oh, I have no frigging idea. So to help these children with taking away some decisions for them could be just do it. If you want to serve them fish and chips, do that. If it's pizza night, do that. And I think that these parents are giving these children so many choices because they never had that opportunity themselves. Again, it's a projection. So we as parents project what we had, what we once had. We need to bring that on to our children. And what we didn't have, we definitely need to pass that on to our children. And forgetting that these children are not us. Your child is not you. It's an individual who needs to be respected and listened to as the way he or she is. But often we forget about the respect. Whenever you enter a new job or a school or just in the meeting with other people, you would always have the courtesy to ask them, hello, how are you? What do you do for a living? What are your interests? Or etc., etc. But we forget that when it comes to our children. We presume so many things about them. And I remember when my son Philip became a teenager, I looked at him and thought to myself, who are you? Oh, I don't know you anymore. And actually I became very upset when that happened, because I knew I do not have the power over my son's life anymore. I have to argue, I have to be argumentative, I have to debate things. I cannot just take him by his collar and say, come, let's go to the supermarket. It's just an example, but I think many parents out there knows that when they become teenagers, yeah, some parents laugh at them like, oh, you're such a teenager. But maybe we should support them instead, saying, oh, you're figuring out who you are. Wow, let me support you on that journey instead. Right now I'm writing my book number 4 about parenting, and I'm hoping it's going to be the driver's license that parents need. But it's not a standard prescription of how to become the best parent. It's more a journey into yourself, figuring out who are you as a person and what do you project. Not deliberately, but what do you pass on to your child. And I think it's difficult to figure out because we have so many options out there. We have experts in sleeping, we have experts in the autism spectrum, we have experts when it comes to temper tantrums, we have experts when it comes to clothing and how to handle teenagers. And are they good enough? Would they be a nice, perfect match for your child or your way of being a parent? No. The one who have the key for you to become the best parent is your child. So if you start listening to your child instead of the experts' advice, you'll figure out that there lies a huge learning possibility for you as a grown-up. So when your child is saying you're always so angry and upset, maybe instead of being provoked by it, or now my child is misbehaving or is being disrespectful to me, could there be something about this story? Are you sending out anger? Are you stressed out? And your child is picking up on that. It could be a child that is insecure and is constantly telling you, I don't like the darkness, I'm very insecure when it comes to other people, I do not want to sleep out. Could that be, if there's any abuse in the family, that could be alcohol abuse. It doesn't have to be physical abuse that has the consequences of a child becoming anxious and suffer from anxiety, which many of these children I help suffer from. I think these children have the key to a happy life, and I always tell the parents, why did you get them in the first place? We only have them on loan. We only have them for a short amount of time. Because when these children are 10, 11 and 12 years old, they want to seek out with their own friends, and the parents are no longer interesting to them. So I think it's very important that to remember that everything or the foundation you build on for the first 10 years are crucial and very important for the rest of your life, for your child. And what is 10 years out of a lifetime, you know? And especially the first 7 years are the most important years to provide support and love without any projections. And that's going to be your task as a parent, to figure out, am I projecting on my child now or not? And if you start to ask yourself that question as a parent, something new will happen in your relationship with your child. Or go ahead and ask your child without asking them too many questions. Or respect if your child is saying no to things. Of course, they can't say no to vegetables each day. That's not the no I'm talking about. It's the no to things you could interpret as being impolite. So if your child is shy, and when you enter a family reunion or a dinner and your child is telling you, I'm uncomfortable about saying hi to all these people, what is it that forces you, the child, to shake hands and say hello? If you know your child is uncomfortable in the situation. And I think most parents know this if they have sensitive children. So why force them? Because you think it's impolite, and you might think as a parent, if my child doesn't do this, it reflects back to me as a parent and the way I'm a parent, my parenthood. Instead of saying, whatever my son or daughter is doing in the meeting with other people has nothing to do with me. But to protect my son or daughter who feels insecure in the situation, I make sure to shake the hands for them and say, hey, we say hello. And then after a while, maybe a half an hour, your child will loosen up and get out of this emotion of being shy. And then there's no problem. Then they're able to say goodbye whenever they leave. So the key to you as being the best parent is your child and your child's reaction.